Hey guys, this is Luke Johnson from Noetic, the philosophy, poetry, literature, humanities teaching app. I'm joined again for another poetry lesson with Holly Holt, and today she's going to teach me a little something about Charlotte Bronte's life. So without further ado, I give you Holly Holt.
Okay. Well, the way I want to start out this time is, of course, a little bit of background about Charlotte Bronte. She was one of six kids, born in 1816, and she was the third of the six kids. Her two sisters, they actually had this brief stint when they were actually all in school together, but then her two older sisters died, like within that year. So, she actually grew up as pretty much the oldest one because of the fact that they were so young whenever they died. And throughout her life, she became known, of course, first through her pseudonym, which was Currer Bell. And then there was Ellis Bell and Acton Bell, both of which were, of course, Emily and Anne. And a lot of people, they don't realize that Charlotte Bronte actually wrote poetry instead of just writing like Jane Eyre. And so whenever I first discovered that, I was just like, well, that's fascinating, to have, like, not only does she write novels, but she writes poetry too. And one of the poems that I've always liked of hers is Life. And the reason is because of the fact, back then it was a lot of people, their average life was, like, I'd say in their 30s, because her siblings, all of them passed away before they even reached 40. Even she passed away before she reached 40. Emily would actually die when she was 30 years old, and Anne actually died when she was 29. And of the ones that they actually had in the family, there was only one boy, and he also died, like I said, early 30s. And, Charlotte, her death was really sad. Of course, death is sad anyway, but she'd actually gotten married, and as she was, pregnant, she actually died. She died before she could even give birth. But, knowing, that death is such a common thing, more than it is nowadays, back then, a lot of the poems, a lot of the writers, they tend to focus more on the darker side of life. And this poem that I chose by Charlotte is actually one that doesn't. And I'm going to read that one to you now. It's called Life. Life, believe, is not a dream, so dark as sages say. Oft a little morning rain foretells a pleasant day. Sometimes there are clouds of gloom, but these are transient all. If the shower will make the roses bloom, oh, why lament its fall? Rapidly, merrily, life's sunny hours flit by. Gratefully, cheerily, enjoy them as they fly. But though death at times steps in and calls our best away, what though sorrow seems to win, or hope a heavy sway? Yet hope again elastic springs, unconquered though she fell, still buoyant are her golden wings, still strong to bear us well. Manfully, fearlessly, the day of trial bear, for gloriously, victoriously, can courage quell despair. And a lot of this, the lines that I actually want to focus on is like the second line where it says, so dark as sages say. Of course, what is a sage? Sage is typically someone who is, very intelligent. So to say, okay, this line tells me that you don't have to be necessarily intelligent in order to realize that, there's more to life than all this darkness that the wise tend to believe. And throughout this entire poem, it just talks about how even though we have our dark days, there are days where, everything to us, it seems, so beautiful, so right. And, that's the way that it should be remembered is, even though death does come for all of us, just to remember, that life, it's sort of like that, life is but a dream, and, sometimes, it's just, the way that life is it can be beautiful. And it really depends on how you look at it, and Charlotte, I think, even after she lost all of her siblings, there was still part of her that, she believed the beauty of life. And that's the reason she wanted, when she was, late in her 30s, before she died, to actually give a life of her own. And, I think that poem really speaks a lot about, the human spirit.
Yeah, I'm glad that you picked this one. It's the first time I've ever laid eyes on it. So I'm sort of analyzing it in real time with anyone else who may be looking at it. What I like about it is, like you said, that she tends to emphasize the virtues of living, and she seems to recognize that whatever is lost, whatever is considered to be dark, what is ever considered to be gloomy, seems to be necessary in order for the continued flourishing of life with a capital L. And it seems like she's dwelling on just how much adversity, whatever this force of life is, must overcome in order to be.
True. I also like how she, throughout this poem, she had these people in the story, except they were like Hope and Death. Hope and Death they were considered people in this, because you can almost see, because you have, what though death at times steps in and calls our best away. Death is personified in this as an actual being. And then we have down here Hope being capitalized, and it's saying, yet Hope again elastic springs unconquered though she fell. Still buoyant are her golden wings, still strong to bear us well. So she's actually giving them life more than, like the word would, just make you feel. So
I think that's interesting to point out, that death and hope are capitalized and personified. Death is less surprisingly capitalized, in my opinion. I think we have a long history within Western culture of personifying death, the Grim Reaper, or this sort of this hooded figure that's in Bergman films that doesn't say anything and then just takes everyone away. But hope, if it's personified, what sort of figure are we supposed to think of as hope here? What images might hope call to mind? This isn't an expressly theological poem. It doesn't seem like it. I don't know if there's, I haven't looked very much at it. I don't know if there's any, or if there are any sort of religious overtones and things like that. But typically when I see in literature and stuff like that, when I see something like hope personified, it's not too away from Christology or something like that. Is there a dimension of that to this at all? Or how do you understand her concept of hope in this poem?
The way that I see it is, it's sort of like, death is that dark side of us. There's that, that feeling that we are going to die. And sometimes people, they tend to get so depressed because of the fact that they're thinking so darkly about it. But hope is the light in this. It's the part of why she turns it into a person, I believe, is because of the fact so many have turned death into an actual being. And hope in this, it's even got golden wings, and so gold, of course, is completely different from the darkness, because that's what shines the light.
Yeah, and is she referring to hope here with the female pronoun? Unconquered though she fell, still buoyant are her golden wings, or is hope a woman in this?
Yes, I believe that she really is. And then it's actually interesting, near the last four lines, where it says, manfully. So there's both gender references throughout this because of the fact, it goes from, we're talking about death, and then we're talking about hope being a woman, and then it says manfully, fearlessly, did the day of trial bear, for gloriously, victoriously can courage quell despair. So it's interesting that she also uses manfully in this poem as well.
It's confusing, right? So she wants hope to be personified as feminine, but then also it seems here towards the end to also possess what I guess we would traditionally consider to be masculine characteristics. And so I guess I don't know. I mean, do you have any theories about why she would want to integrate genders when speaking about hope? What she may be trying to achieve there?
I think maybe the way that she was looking at it was, since she's a woman, that she wanted to personify it as a woman because of the fact that she was a woman. And like I said, near the end where it says manfully, then it's like she reverts back to just being a normal gender, and it's actually interesting that she would actually capitalize hope and personify it, yet she doesn't do that to courage, so that's very interesting.
Yeah, there's capital, and maybe it's arbitrary. I don't know. The thing is, I'm dwelling here. I doubt it's arbitrary, but I'm just trying to pull back a little bit. So now I see the words death and hope jumping out at me, and those are not the only words that are capitalized. I mean, if I look here at the left side of the poem, the version that I have from poetryarchive.com, poetry-archive.com, if I look at the left side of the poem, I go down the whole left side. In my version, every letter that begins a line is capitalized. Is that what you see on your version, or is it different?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then outside of that, the only things that are capitalized are death, best, hope. Yeah, best. Best is capitalized. So there are only 3 words outside the stylistic choice of capitalizing everything at the beginning of every first line. So it's not only that death and hope seem to have special significance in this, but also best. And so that raises the question of what's going on with best. Calls our best away.
It makes
That's
me
not
wonder,
necessarily a personification, though.
It makes me wonder if she's, because of the fact that she, like I said, came from a family of 6 kids. Her mom died, and then she had 4 sisters and a brother. So there was a stronger, feminine, side to her life. So that mainly those that she lost were, of course, women. And so I think, in a way, Bess could refer to any of her sisters. Because of the fact that she loves them so much, and the fact that they're also women, that referring to Hope as being a woman could also play into that, the fact that she lost so many sisters.
Interesting. So maybe, I guess what you're trying to say here is maybe this is in some way a celebration of femininity in some way. Not only the fact that Hope is a feminine figure, but that the best that death calls away are female. It's an interesting interpretive lens. I don't know. I'm sure there's a body of literature that can speak to it in some way, and we'll have other people, make contributions that can say something about that. A lot of this is really speculative. Not that it's not interesting. I think it can really be really generative to someone who may be trying to struggle to get their mind around this. Was there anything else in terms of it structurally or philosophically, or that jumped out at all to you?
Well, her use of adverbs really struck me because of the fact, she has, after it says, "Oh, why lament its fall," she has rapidly and merrily. And then down at the bottom, she has manfully, fearlessly, and then victoriously. She uses adverbs all over the place, And then, of course, her use of the way that the world looks, not only just like on the outside, but how we would feel on the inside, because she's like, life believe is not a dream, so dark as sages say, oft a little morning rain foretells a pleasant day. So in a way, she could be not only referring to the actual weather, but to the way that people are, the way that people are feeling. And because then she goes into, sometimes there are clouds of gloom, but these are transient all. If the shower will make the roses bloom, oh, why lament its fall? So I really believe that she's, not only is she like giving the outward glance of life, but the inward glance as well.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
yeah, I like her use of adverbs: this rapidly, merrily, gratefully, cheerily, manfully, fearlessly, gloriously, victoriously. Like I can see the sing-songy nature in that. Um, I wonder if it has more of a point to it than just being an aesthetic one. But even if it doesn't, it's quite joyful. It's quite a pleasure to the ear to hear those things coupled together like that. One of the other things I'm noticing here in terms of words that stick out, we mentioned that death and best and hope are the only ones outside of that first line, outside of the first letter of each line, that are capitalized. But there's one word in here that all the letters are capitalized, and that's the very first word in the title of the poem, right?
true.
So you would have to think that she gives even greater signification to that particular word if she's willing to capitalize all of it. It's totally unnecessary to do it unless she's trying to give us a content that the personification of death and hope don't have.
Sure.
Perhaps we could say something that, life subsumes both, that life is comprised of both hope and death, and maybe that was the stylistic choice for doing that. I mean, it's total speculation, but it is significant. I mean, is that what you see on your version as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I think
So
it's interesting.
yeah, I mean that
Almost
would
as if
just,
she's defining.
yeah. What do you think about, it's interesting you pointed out the adverb use. I wonder if there's anything, she is tempted to use these adverbs and speak of life in terms of dreams or it not being a dream. I wonder if there's any sort of significance to the old uh, 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 child song, rowing your boat.
True.
I mean, do you think there's any? I mean, the fact that you would include life and merrily, I feel so silly even saying it because it's so simplistic. But like, there are enough similarities that make me go like, I wonder if that was a point of inspiration for this at all, a more mature fleshing out of that idea. That seems so silly to say that. I could be totally wrong. I don't know anything about poetry.
But I mean, it does make you think, though, because of the fact, I mean, there is life in merrily, and whenever I was reading that, I was just like, row, row, row your boat, and
She said, "Life, believe, is not a dream." Like, where have we heard that before? Right? Life is but a dream. I don't know. I feel so silly saying that, but like maybe there's some point of significance there. I'm not even sure. I don't know. Well, I think we have opened some points for people to explore. I don't think we've solved this Rubik's Cube of a poem, and maybe it doesn't need to be solved. But I think it's a good way to get people sort of interested in starting to think about it outside of just kind of like, oh, that's cool. Like you take the good, you take the bad. That's the facts of life or something, there might be a little bit more to it than just kind of like a celebration of that which is beautiful within existence. So I don't know. Hopefully I didn't derail you too much. Is there anything else you want to say about it?
No, I mean that is it. Like I said, it's very interesting. Like, because of the fact that maybe her intention was just to define life itself. Because I mean, we got to take the good and the bad, and the ugly. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the way that I felt whenever I was reading it. Was there seems to me maybe more to it, but again, there's more to life, than what meets the eye most of the time. So.
Cool. All right. All right. Well, thank you, Holly. I really appreciate you bringing this poem to my attention. I'm deeply intrigued and I want to learn more about it. It might be the sort of thing, maybe at some point we can do some research and even revisit these things with some of the discoveries that we do out there. I think it's good to look at these things without spectacles on, but then I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what the critical analysis is out there of these things. So cool. But yeah, thank you so much. And I'll get this uploaded and put on the app momentarily.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Holly.
You're welcome. Thank you.